evening and thank you for joining us. Court proceedings at the Thunder Bay Courthouse are expected to be impacted for at least the rest of this week. This after an electrical fire yesterday afternoon caused minor damage to the facility. Investigators from the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office and Thunder Bay Fire Rescue were on the scene today trying to confirm the cause. Kayla Karim reports.
Around 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Thunder Bay Fire Rescue crews were called to the city courthouse after a resident noticed smoke appearing from the building. As a result, 6 pumper trucks, an aerial ladder, and a command vehicle were on site along with police and ambulances. Captain of Fire Prevention Kevin Anderson shared more details on the cause of the fire.
Smoke coming out of the 7th floor and ended up coming out of an electrical service room that's on the 7th floor. It was equipment malfunction that happened. It's full of electrical panels, so that's what the cause of the fire was. Exactly what caused it, we don't know.
Anderson shared that all sprinklers and other safety systems worked as they should, and there was not as much damage as initially thought. One sprinkler went off in the room where the electrical fire started, which helped to cool the blaze before fire crews arrived.
You know, the fire was contained because of the newer building. It exhausted a lot of that smoke and heat, so it was really just that one electrical panel that was the main damage was. Obviously there was some water, so they have to go through and use dehumidifiers and dry things up. Obviously some water went through the building, but most of it seemed to go down the stairwell and that, so you know, not as much damage as initially thought. So you know, I'm not sure how long they'll be out, but they're starting to work on it right now.
Officials at the Ministry of the Attorney General say that after consulting with all parties involved, the courthouse will remain closed this week while cleanup and repairs are conducted. Some court matters are being heard remotely while others were adjourned to next week. Further details about court operations will be released once the full extent of the damage is known and the ministry has a chance to consult with the judges and other stakeholders that use the courthouse. Kayla Karim, TBT News.
A search is currently underway in the rural Thunder Bay area for a missing child. OPP say 4-year-old Liam Baker was last seen in his yard on Ilka Drive off Highway 1117 in Conwy Township around 1:30 this afternoon. Liam is described as being 4'2" with medium build, short blonde hair, and blue eyes. The boy was wearing a blaze orange hunting toque, a gray and black winter jacket, and black pants. OPP officers are being assisted by a K-9 unit, the Northwest Emergency Response Team, search and rescue personnel, and a MNRF helicopter. Anyone who's traveling in that area and spots the child is asked to contact the OPP. The Thunder Bay Health and Sciences Center has tightened travel restrictions for staff, non-emergency patients, and all other visitors. With the second wave of COVID-19 underway and cases surging in other areas, the restrictions are being amended to protect everyone in the hospital. Starting Monday, staff, non-emergency patients, and all visitors are being asked not to come into the hospital for at least 7 days if they've traveled south of Parry Sound or west of the Manitoba border. If anyone does try to visit the hospital within that time period, they will fail the screening process in place and will be denied entry to the building.
Really, it has to do with the science. So the numbers that are going on outside of Northern Ontario are escalating, and the medical officer of health, Dr. DeMille, has made a recommendation to citizens in Northern Ontario that they not travel outside of Northern Ontario. So as a hospital, what we recognize is that in wave 1, we did this similarly, and we think it was a big part of what helped to keep our patients and staff safe, and that's really our goal here. We want to continue to be able to provide patient care.
Voros isn't sure how long the new restrictions will stay in place. And during the first wave, the restrictions for travel outside the region were in place from March until September 2nd. Meanwhile, the hospital is now requiring appointments to be booked for school children and any others at the newly opened COVID-19 testing center at Confederation College. On Friday afternoon, Premier Doug Ford announced that walk-in testing services were now prohibited, and that caused the new facility to make some last-minute changes before opening today. Troy Charles has more.
Jackie Park manages the assessment center, which is located in Confederation College's Sibley Hall Residence Activity Room. On the first day of operations, a few people did show up thinking walk-ins were still accepted. Park says they were accommodated by having an online booking made for them. She explains which individuals meet the criteria for the center that is strictly for students and school-related testing.
Teachers, parents, students, students of LU as well as Confederation College, any of the other schools in Thunder Bay as well. If siblings are sick and you come as a family, then we will do it all at one time, parents and students and siblings. It's just to be clear to everyone, though, we will only be testing those that are symptomatic. This morning we had some families come, and then we only tested the individual that was symptomatic at that time.
Appointments can be booked by visiting the hospital's website and clicking on student and school-related testing, and there's also a local phone line available. Park walked us through what exactly happens when a patient arrives at the facility.
So you show up, we just verify your health information. We have a chart made for you. You're asked to wash your hands, you're asked a series of questions, and then you will be placed with a nurse who will do an assessment at that point and do the actual swab.
The center is expected to serve 150 clients a day. Park says the turnaround time right now for results is about 5 to 7 days, but she's hoping the changes to testing criteria and foregoing asymptomatic testing will speed up result times. Troy Charles, TBT News.
A pair of COVID-19 outbreaks have now been declared in Kenora. This after a 10th positive case over the past few days was confirmed this weekend. The Northwestern Health Unit says the 2 cases announced Friday at Valley View Elementary School have now met the definition of a school outbreak, as at least one of the cases could have reasonably acquired the infection in the school setting. So far, there are no additional cases and no more classrooms have had to be closed. Meanwhile, one staff member at the Birchwood Terrace Seniors Home in Kenora has tested positive. Under the province's guidelines, it only takes 1 case in a long-term care home for an outbreak to be declared. Birchwood Terrace officials say the case was identified during weekly routine staff testing. The affected employee is isolating at home, and any residents who may have been exposed to the staff member have been swabbed. So far, there are no residents or other staff who are displaying any symptoms. City Council could decide tonight whether it'll make significant investments in the Centennial Botanical Conservatory. That's the recommendation from the City Parks Division. It runs contrary to an outside recommendation contained in the Program and Service Review, which suggests the facility should be closed. Ryan Benazzo has more.
Despite Grant Thornton's recommendation in the Program and Service Review that the conservatory be closed, administration is still suggesting major investment in the facility instead. A report coming to council on Monday evening recommends immediate replacement of the cold frame greenhouses and that tender documents be developed to replace the indoor production greenhouses. That work could cost up to $1.8 million. Those greenhouses are used to grow plants and flowers, which are then planted across the city. It would cost nearly $400,000 a year to contract that work out. If council accepts the recommendations as they're currently written, city staff would also then prepare a report on renewal options and expanded service opportunities for the conservatory itself. Those could include a coffee bar, a new multi-purpose room, and educational programming. Preliminary estimates suggests that type of facility renewal could cost an additional $3.1 million. Multiple public surveys have indicated that many residents see it as money well spent. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
Also tonight, Council will re-vote on whether to delay a funding decision for the proposed Thunder Bay word sign. The vote was inadvertently recorded as passed last week when it actually lost on a tie. Councillor Albert Aiello, who was participating virtually, wasn't called upon to vote on the matter after he lost his internet connection. Fort William First Nation residents have voted overwhelmingly in favor of designating a portion of reserve land for a proposed long-term care facility. The vote passed with 159 in favor of the First Nations-led elder care facility and just 9 votes against, although less than 10% of the reserve's 2,000 eligible voters turned out on Saturday. The 96-bed home is estimated to cost $30 million, with the Band Council hoping to secure a third of that funding from the federal government. The facility would be operated by Dilico Anishinaabeg Family Care and would prioritize beds for elders from Fort William and 12 other Robinson Superior First Nations. Chief Peter Collins says the project won't just benefit his community, but the entire Northwest as a whole.
Even Bill Morrow, the mayor of the city here, phone and say this is a great project for Northwestern Ontario, and he wants to stand behind it and help support it and help push it to the goal line. I think it's As I always said, this is not just about Fort William or the Robinson Superior community. This is about Northwestern Ontario in its entirety, and Thunder Bay is part of that. And I think the jobs that we create from this project will help his folks in the city also.
Collins is hopeful federal funding can be secured in time to begin construction in the spring. The project is expected to take approximately 2 years to complete. Thunder Bay police have made a disturbing impaired driving arrest. It came Sunday morning around 10 o'clock when officers observed a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on North Court Street near River Street. After pulling the vehicle over, the driver exhibited multiple signs of impairment and an open bottle of liquor was visible in the car. Also inside were 2 small children without car seats or seatbelts. Testing of the 33-year-old woman driver showed her blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit. The Salvation Army's brand new 30,000 square foot Journey to Life Center is nearing completion. Construction began in early 2019, and the building is set to replace the organization's current homeless shelter, which opened in 1971. A sneak peek tour was given to media today, and Michael Mahorovich was there.
884 days after breaking ground on their new Journey to Life Center, the Salvation Army has pegged October 16th as move-in day.
It's been a long time coming and we are excited. The clients are excited. It's something that everybody deserves. It's going to be a great opportunity for individuals in the community. So, I don't think words can say really what we feel at this time.
The new building features 20 emergency shelter beds, 16 rooms equipped to help offer special care to clients, 8 beds for clients recently released from the correctional system, and 20 studio units assigned to their Journey to Life program.
Part of the Journey to Life program, they'll do an assessment. We'll take those individuals in. Well, it'll be very individualized depending on what their needs and their skills were. The programming will be developed for that individual. So the person will stay in that program for a year, and in certain cases they may extend that programming, and then they'll be able to move on into the community.
The building includes a wild game kitchen so clients can enjoy traditional Northwestern meats. There's also patio space in the back of the building that will give them the opportunity to host social events for clients. Another key feature of the building is the beautifully designed chapel, built with proper ventilation for any future smudging ceremonies.
That's a wonderful space that we actually have. So again, we're able to use some Indigenous teachings within that particular chapel. The ventilation system has been designed so that we can actually do smudging within there, and it'll recycle the air. So that's an area that we're really excited about.
Once the move-in process is complete, the old building will be torn down and a parking lot will be built in its place for the new building to use. And even though they're at this point, Ferguson says more money needs to be raised for their capital campaign.
The community's been very generous, but there's still some fundraising that we need to do to make our capital campaign goals. So currently we're looking at about $670,000 that we need to come up with. Now with that money, if we're able to raise that money, it's able to reduce a significant mortgage that we'll be able to help, that will really be able to help us. In regards to really what we need, if everybody in the community was to give us $5, we'd make our capital campaign goal.
Michael Mahorovich, TBT News.
As we know, the Thunder Bay community is constantly giving back, especially during the fall and winter seasons. And with the cold weather approaching, the annual coat drive is now in full swing for its 14th season. Gear Up for Outdoors hosted the kickoff event this morning. Reps from the Shelter House, Precious Bundles, Grace Place, and the Keg were on hand to announce the details. This year, the coat drive will be contactless in order to ensure safety precautions during the pandemic. From now until December 10th, anyone donating coats will have to drop them off labeled in a plastic bag at Gear Up for Outdoors. Store owner John Wynn says this will make the process much easier, especially since they could be expecting up to 1,000 coats.
It is absolutely huge this year, especially this year with COVID, because there's a lot more clients that are going to be needing jackets and a little bit more despair in the community there. So the idea of getting these jackets to them is really important, and this our staff thought a lot of hard how we were going to do it safely.
I'm hoping we continue to get the same support. I mean, I'm imagining that it probably will be down a little bit this year, but whatever we do get is going to be helpful for people.
The SOS van from Shelter House will pick up the coats as they're ready, with 50 jackets already donated courtesy of Lakehead Cleaners.
Well, Fiona, we were talking about